Hey everybody, this is Jeff here at Whirlwind Family Farm. Survived Fern. I think that was the name of this winter storm. That's a strange name. Every fern I think I've ever known, whether living, plant, or person, was pretty nice. This was not exactly a nice storm. We're fortunate we're here in Central Texas where for us it is extreme. We got down to 14 degrees. I think we had a wind chill factor of 0. It's still pretty cold right now. The wind is coming out of the north, which north of here, there's still a lot of snow and ice coverage all the way up to the Red River, North Texas. So when that wind is coming from the north, it is really cold. But back to what I was saying, I think our low was 14. And I will tell you, we've had colder days out here. Nearly half a decade I have lived on this farm. We hit, I think, 7 degrees one time. So this is certainly not a record. I did hear down in Austin, which is about 95 miles or 90 miles right over there. One of the stations I saw this morning said that they did hit a new record low for Austin, as long as records have been kept. I always like to put that caveat in because let's face it, compared to Europe or other nations, the United States is not that old. And how long have we actually been keeping records? 140, 150 years. So a lot of time where things could have been much colder or warmer before we started keeping records. So always try to keep that in mind. I hear these people get really exercised about these records and I'm like, well, how accurate were they 100 years ago? How accurate was it 150 years ago? So that's something to keep in mind. So wherever you are, I hope you're doing well. Hope you survived Fern. From what I could tell, looking at the weather reports this morning, that it's pretty much off the East Coast now. And I heard this morning that the Nashville, Tennessee area, the power was down. So I hope that has been restored. If it hasn't been, you're certainly not watching this because you're not going to be using your precious phone battery to be watching me. So I hope that's been restored. Hope you're doing well wherever you're at and you didn't have too much damage from this storm. I did check. We have 2 wells out here. We have one that supplies our house, one that supplies Whirlwind Family Farm. Just checked on them here about 30 minutes ago. And it hasn't got quite warm enough for the pipes to everything to completely thaw out, but there was no leakage, no burst as far as anything yet. So that's a plus. We'll know here later this afternoon. We just hit 32 degrees just a few minutes ago. So we're just now getting above freezing. And as you can see, I'm out on our trail today, Whirlwind Family. So that's where our farm is at. And that kind of leads me into one of the things. Again, hope everybody's doing well, safe. If the roads are slick and icy, please don't get out there. Let things get cleared off before you try any driving out there on those slick roads. Just not worth it. And hope you're just taking care of staying warm wherever you're at. And I know much further north here in Central Texas, we are fortunate that it has been as warm as it has been. But I know north of here, I talked to a friend of mine this morning in the Lubbock, Texas area. I think they were -4 this morning. Whew, that's cold for Texas. I used to live in that area and I know it can get cold in the Texas Panhandle. And then on much further north, all the way up into the Great Lakes, they have been extremely cold. So hope everybody's doing well. But my other subject, as I was about to start into, is that it is that season. If you hadn't already ordered your seeds, certainly start thinking about the seeds that you're going to order and get those things that you really do like for your garden. Keep it as simple as possible. I always say it's a simple choice. Buy the things that you enjoy. Carrots, tomatoes, onions, radishes, lettuce mixes, green beans, peas. The list is, there's a lot. There's a lot of different things you can choose from. That's the first thing, is make your choice of those things you enjoy for your family. You enjoy eating and having at your dinner table. That makes it a simple choice. The next thing is find a good, reputable seed dealer. Again, I always say, and I've said this several times, and I know I'm repeating myself for those of you who follow me quite often, but Here in about 3 or 4 weeks, as we start to get into that spring season, have a neighbor dog over there. I think I just scared him. He's starting to bark. But we're in that season when retailers will start, especially if you go into a grocery store, they'll bring out that little display that's got seeds on it. One of the rows will be vegetables, one of the rows will be perennials and flowers. And I always say, try to avoid that thing. I've gotten good seeds off of those before, so not to totally dismiss them. But the chances are that that's been used several times. And if the seeds were not bought last year, that little display went back in the back of the grocery store. And then this March or April, they'll pull it back out, and some of those seeds could be a couple of years old. And I will tell you, as somebody that has been purchasing seeds for several years now, is that seeds do not get better with age. Even if you're keeping them in a good, cool, dry place, which you should, that's a thing to avoid. So there's a lot of good seed dealers out there. We use Johnny's, Wheat Hill, I think I'm saying their name wrong. They're in North Texas. I apologize to them for botching their name there, but they have good seed selection for our area. They have a lot of seeds that are more adapted to our warmer and more arid climate. Hold on here, see if we can get, yeah, there we go. My little gimbal here is not tracking me. That's a little frustrating. I gesticulate, I move my arms too much, and there we go. I think it's following me again. Sorry about that. But back to what I was talking about. Find a reputable seed company, do your research, and that's where you should buy your seeds. And again, don't overpurchase. If you have a small backyard garden, I always say, just get the seeds you need. Don't overdo it, because if you keep those seeds around, you don't use them, then you're tempted to try them again the next year, and those seeds may lose their germination percentages. And so that's one of my advices. I'm bad about buying way too many seeds, keeping them around, planting again next year, and most of them do fine on year 2, but you can tell those germination rates start to go down. So just buy what you need, and when it's time to get more, it's a simple thing. Plan ahead and go, you know what, I think I'm going to need some more radishes here. So you can put your order in, and if it's online, you can usually have them in 2 or 3 days. So that's the way we like to do it. And as far as bed preparation, we'll be coming up on that in February. I know we're here at the end of January. One of the things that we like to do is take those beds individually. We have a full acre, we try not to bed prep too far in advance, because if you do get a heavy rain, or let's say there's a heavy snow, then a melt, you kind of open yourself up to a little bit of erosion. So if you have grass or a cover crop in that part of the garden right now, I say leave it on as long as possible, because the more that ground is covered, the better it's going to do, especially in a no-till system. So that's kind of my theory. I've learned over the years, when it's time for a bed to be prepped, I go out and clear it if there's any thatch or any cover crop. With cover crops, I'll go in with a weed eater, weed whacker, go down, level it right with the ground, leave those root systems in the ground, because 2 things, you've got root channels that are going to leave a nice permeable area in that soil to keep it open. Also, those roots are decaying, which is leaving good organic material, acting just like a compost. So that's one of the things we'll do with those rows. And I will tell you, on some of the cover crops like sweet alyssum or oats or anything that you've used, you can take a board, something like a 2x6, 2x4, drill a couple of holes on each end, put ropes in there, and just you and a friend, or you can do it by yourself, just take those rope, hold them up with your hand, and go along and crimp those cover crops. Crimp them down, because this time of year, after we've had all of this cold, hard frost, more than likely they are already killed back. They're now dead. They're pretty much dead thatch. You can crimp them down, and some people do plant into them. Once they raise their seedlings and that thatch has been pressed down, crimped down. People plant into it, and it is its own form of a compost and just a material there that is starting to break down and providing nutrients for those microorganisms. So that's the beauty of a cover crop, is that they can be planted into. I try to keep the rows a little bit cleaner. I may try crimping down this year a little bit more, but usually I'll go in, cut those tops off, and then those beds are prepped. If I need to add some compost, we have a garden now that's several years old. It's had lots of compost on it. So I won't go in with a lot. I'll keep it fairly light, spread it out in those areas, and then we'll come in with those seedlings that may be 10 to 15 days old. Let's use radishes as an example. And we'll plant radishes in our seed trays. We usually put down 3 seeds, multi-sow in those seed trays. Once they get to 9, 10, 15 days, we'll transplant them out into those rows. Radishes are one of those things you can plant fairly close together. And after I've bed prepped, taken that cover crop off, that thatch, come in and start planting, and it's as simple as that. And usually within 5 to 6 weeks or less, you'll start to have radishes. And so that's the things we're going to go through. As we start in the spring season, it's too much to discuss every single aspect of it now, but we'll keep it as simple as possible. And like I always say, if you've got sunlight, you've got good soil compost, you've got water, and what have I left out of there? I think that's it. You've got soil, sunlight, water, and your seeds and planted, and you're pretty much ready to go. So gardening can be much simpler than sometimes we make it out to be. And that's really it. So we've got our seeds ordered. We'll be bed prepping here once we get past some of these winter months, these final winter months when we have these cold spells that come through here, because the last thing you want to do, and I have made this mistake before, is started planting just a little bit too early, just in eagerness to get started, and get a hard frost and lose that crop. So that's the other thing I'll mention before we close this out, is that make sure you know your zone, hardy zone. You can look that up, go into your web browser and Google whatever, type in hardy zone for the United States, and then you can look and see if you're up in, you're in the Dakotas, you're going to be zone 3, zone 4, and then the zones come down 4, 5, 6. We're in zone 8. If you're down in southern Florida, I'm pointing towards southern Florida right now, that is zone 9, zone 10. And those hardy zones will tell you the best time to plant something. And I'll give you, since I was talking about radishes, I like to use them as an example. They germinate quickly, they're able to transplant in quickly. And that's the thing about radishes, is they like a cooler time of the year. So for them, we will start them in late February, early March, and we'll have a good crop of succession planting, where we'll keep a group of radishes going all the time. As soon as one starts to mature out, we'll be planting another group, because we are planting those for our customers, farmers markets, and those that we sell direct. So we keep a group going all the time up until we get to about June. And that's because here in zone 8, we'll start to get in the upper 90s. And anybody that's ever dealt with warmer weather and radishes, they just don't do that well in the warmer weather. And then we get back to fall, back to late August, we'll start back with radishes again. So I'm just using them as an example for that hardy zone. That's the key, is to find exactly what your zone is, the best time to plant. And once you know that, then you can go in and do your research, whether it be beets, whether, say, you're going to do a couple of rows of corn, you're going to do your green beans, things like that. You can look and see exactly for your zone the best time to plant, the harvest season, and so on. So that just makes it easier. And that's one of the things I always recommend. Find your hardy zone, and then find those plant times for each of those vegetables that you're raising in your garden. So that's kind of my advice this time of year. It's just the planting time, getting ready, the seeds that you want, knowing your hardy zone, looking at your garden prep, when you're going to start building those beds. And again, if you've had a garden for several years, I'm not telling you anything new, is that you may use raised beds. And there's a lot of simplicity to that. If you're planning planting a little bit larger garden like ours, we have 50-foot row beds that are 30 inches wide. Even inside of our high tunnels, everything is 50 foot long, 30 inches wide. Our high tunnels are 50 foot long. And that just allows us to have a uniformity. If there is a row cover that we need to put over something, whether it be against insects or to cover it from frost, we know it's 50 foot long. If we're putting down drip lines, it's 50 foot long. So that's just another thing that we talk about on this channel, is just little things that help you to get better at what you're doing. And just having uniform size beds makes it simple. Anytime you buy something or need to have the right length, you know it's going to be the same in any part of your garden. So thanks again, guys. We appreciate you finding our channel. If you're new to our channel, we are Whirlwind Family Farm. I am Jeff. This is Central Texas. If I could point to it, Austin's about 90 miles right over there. We usually are a fairly warm climate. And this season, we're going to walk through, as we do each season, try to walk through our growing methods, when we start things, what we start off in seed trays, those things that will direct seed. We have a little earthway seeder. And I've said this many times, if you have a small backyard garden, you don't need a earthway seeder, jang seeder, any of those things. Your finger will work just fine, or a stick. You make that little furrow and then drop the seeds in, and you cover them up and you're done. And just stick to your watering schedule, and you don't have to have any fancy seeders. And as far as equipment, we're going to go through that this year. Little things of equipment that you may need as far as wire weeders or collinear hose or stirrup hoe, things like those, things that are very useful in a no-till system. We're going to talk about why we use a no-till system, the time savings that provides, and also just the soil getting better with time in a no-till system. So thanks again, guys. We appreciate it when you like, subscribe right over here, hit that wherever it's at, hit that bell for notifications. And as I mentioned in another video, we're over 1,300 subscribers now. By our anniversary for this channel is coming up, I think, the first week of March. We started 2 years ago on this channel, and we would like to hit 2,000 subscribers. So we hope that you will subscribe and help us get to that goal. Thanks again. Blessings over you, your family, your spring garden. We appreciate you tuning in today. And again, hope you're safe, staying warm, and that this fern is done. Talk to you soon from Whirlwind Family Farm.